Hello and welcome back to Digital Assets Daily. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in your corner of the world. Tonight we're going to discuss XRP and how it connects to R3. First off, we're going to go with 14 Italian banks complete interbank transactions on R3 blockchain Corda. A consortium of Italian banks has successfully completed the initial trial of a blockchain-based system aimed at enhancing interbank operations, known as Interbank Spunta project. The 14 banks chose the Corda distributed ledger technology platform developed by the R3 blockchain consortium. Excuse me. That's all we need from this article. There is a theme with the Italian banks, R3, and XRP from beginning to end of tonight's video. R3 reveals Corda Payments app integrates with XRP. The enterprise blockchain company R3 announced the release of an open source universal payments application on its Corda network. The company says the Corda Settler D app will enable payments through any of the world's payment systems, both conventional and digital currencies. XRP, the cryptocurrency associated with Ripple, is the first digital currency to be supported. R3 adds Ripple as first crypto for its universal payments dApp. Don't need to go into that. It's basically the connecting of the last article, just a little bit more details. But again, the links will be available in the description below just for your further research and knowledge. I'm sharing a lot of this for those of you who are new to the space, so you'll understand what's going on, how exciting this moment is, and how powerful at the same time, and how big it is. And for those of you who have been here a while, it may be a refresher, or it possibly might be new to you as well. But it is very exciting. Next article, R3 Ripple settle the legal dispute over the XRP purchase. There was a lawsuit between the two between R3 towards Ripple. Ripple countersued back to R3. There was a private settlement between the two. It was basically over a purchase option. To do a price by, I believe it was September 2019, to the point of decimal 0085, and I believe the limit was 5 billion, as you can read in the article. They had the purchase option at that price for that time. You know, a little dispute, but they settled that. And as it says, bearing the blockchain hatchet, Ripple and R3 may be bitter rivals in business and in the courts, but they are working with each other on a universal settler application to streamline global payments on the Corda blockchain. R3 announced the application will support cryptocurrency transactions within enterprise blockchains, and Ripple's XRP will be the first recognized cryptocurrency that R3's settler will support. The app verifies the receipt of the payment and updates the Corda ledger. Ripple has built a market by using its blockchain to remove cost and time from international payments, initially as an alternative to banks, though it has more recently picked up support from financial institutions. The next article, blockchain Corda settler, Ripple and Swift, a ménage à trois. And this article basically gets into how they are all working together. I don't want to go too deep into this. Basically goes in, describes a little bit about each of them. You have what is Corda Settler. Corda Settler uses XRP. Then how does Corda Settler work? It goes into the details of that. And what does Corda Settler mean for the parties involved, explaining how it uses XRP, and the Swift partnership with Corda on the GPI network. As we've connected many times here in this channel, I'll go into that lightly. Following the recent launch of our Corda settler, allowing for the payment of obligations raised on the Corda platform, it was a logical extension to plug into Swift GPI. Swift GPI has rapidly become the new standard to settle payments right across the world. All the blockchain applications running on the Corda will thus benefit from the fast, secure, and transparent settlement provided through the Swift GPI banks, stated David Rudder, the CEO of R3. A little bit into GPI. Excuse me. The trial of will integrate Swift's GPI link cross-border payments gateway with R3's Corda settler platform to enable the continuous monitoring and control of payment flows, settle GPI payments through their bank, and receive credit information. Swift's GPI is a messaging system based on existing messaging standards and bank payment processing systems. It has rapidly become the new standard to settle payments right across the world. The integration will also support application programming interfaces APIs, as well as Swift and ISO standards to ensure global integration and interoperability. It aims to provide quick and cost-effective transfers between Swift members. Through GPI, Swift hopes to assist banks enhance their relevance within the fast-evolving international payments ecosystem by delivering immediate value to Swift's members' customers. And then you go to the goal of Swift Corda settler, POC. In the article, their objective, the Corda settler fiat currencies versus XRP. And that was a long one. And then the Miragetoire. So then you have discussion of the Swift, the R3 Corda settler, and the rippled XRP powered payments. Basically, the beautiful partnership of the three. Then we'll come into R3 completes trade finance blockchain trial with more than 70 organizations. That is pretty massive. I'll actually go into that just a bit. The trial included more than 70 organizations from more than 25 countries. Upwards of 340 participants from those organizations were involved and came out from sectors like financial services, information technology, telecommunications, logistics, the maritime industry, real estate, hospitality, and the automotive industry. The trial tested working capital applications developed by TradeIX and focused on the receivables finance product on Marco Polo's platform. TradeIX announced Thursday accounts receivables financing, also called factoring, is where a business sells accounts receivables to a third party at a discount in return for immediate cash payment. The aim of the product is to increase connectivity and efficiency while decreasing onboarding cost. Marco Polo claims that more than 700 funding requests were completed in the trial, with user training only requiring a day of participants' time on average. That gets a little of that story. Now back to Italian Banking Association further test interbank blockchain system powered by R3 Corda. Let's go back into Italian banks successfully test data reconciliation via the blockchain. You notice the dates. The first was in February. They were trying. And then in October of last year, they had successfully tested. I want to play a quick video here directly from the Italian banks, Spunta. I'll let it go from here and play a quick video.
Abinad is a consortium. There is a Center for Research and Innovation for the Banks promoted by the Italian Banking Association. And it's owned by 150 Italian banks and around 60 ICT partners. which work with us in our work groups and observatory on new technology. We decided to use Corda after starting the Spunta process and after analyzing the needs of the banks that are working with us. So the main reasons are probably related to information sharing based on logic that on need to know. So we are translating into the ledger some bilateral relationship with the bank. So this logic was absolutely perfect for the use case Spunta. Spunta is a sort of Cinderella process in the bank. So it's a typical from back offices, and it's quite a normal reconciliation process which exists in every bank in the world. The particularity in Italy is that this process is based on the bilateral account, which are co-owned by the two banks involved in the relationship. And this is the ownership of this account switches between one bank and the other every 3 years. Once I have the ownership of the account, I can see all the information, balance, movements, etc. But when the ownership switches to the other bank, I can see nothing, nor the balance, nor the movements, and I need to ask to the counterpart to get this information. We move from a bilateral physical registry, physical ledger, to a shared distributed ledger. So the two banks involved in the process could share the information in every time and get access to the information for every time. In the ledger, we set up the matching rules that are executed on the ledger. So we increased the automatic matching rate in the suspended movements, and these are the main two biggest benefits we get with this application. So we are very close to plan the production phase that will involve all the Italian banks. So this dimension of the project, despite the small process we are working on, transformed the Spunta project in an important project. So we worked very well with us three because we could dialogue with all the different capabilities for the database, for the engineer, for the performance, and it was very easy in the last month to get direct relationship and to have access to all these competences. Yes, we have just ended a performance internal test. So the project is based on a hybrid distributed infrastructure. So we have built up 17 distributed nodes, some in cloud, some on-premise in the banks. And we have uploaded 60 days of Spunta. That means 1.2 million of real movements was uploaded on the real distributed nodes.
All right, so you heard it right there from Spunta. I'm going to finish this off with one more video. I would like you to hear directly from R3's CEO. Current video also recorded right here. Let's go back into it now.
Well, I don't know if there's disincentives, but your first point is very accurate. Libra woke a lot of people up. Central banks have been looking at blockchain and digital currencies for years now. They started by looking at it in the retail sense. From our perspective, because we are an enterprise software solution for businesses, we're interested in central bank digital currencies to settle large value transactions, which is different than replacing a currency completely with some cryptocurrency backed by a central bank. But you know, there's another trend there too, Karen. If you look in Sweden, it's almost a cashless society too. So the central banks have a lot of things to consider when they look at what's going on in the cryptocurrency world and how they want to promote commerce globally.
Security being a dominant theme as well. We've seen raids on certain reserves by hackers in the past. So if they're going to replace an old system with a new one, they want to make sure it's entirely secure. How does blockchain stack up these days? Because some say it's impenetrable and others say, well, there have been examples of hacking there too.
So the security side plays to our strengths. We made some unpopular choices 3 or 4 years ago, and it really had to do a lot with my history. I've been on the street for 30 years now, and we're interested in solving real-world business problems and making incremental improvements by using distributed computing. Importantly, anyone in a value chain knows that what their counterparty sees is what I see. And the thing is that I think that the problem on with the cryptocurrency is that it doesn't really solve those issues.
One of the other concerns in the marketplace is about China getting there first. So we were talking last year about Libra prodding central banks to take action. Now with China moving forward with a form of a digital currency, there's a feeling that other central banks in the West also need to step up. The difference, though, if you consider WeChat and the way the payment system works in China, you've got a whole bunch of passports identification that is linked to an identity, a digital identity. But here in the West, there's not really a similar situation. So if you're setting up a digital passport of some form, you could be anyone. You could be several people at the same time. And as we talk about money laundering, that's a huge issue. So how does Europe get to the position where China is, where identity is firmly attached to documents?
Europe actually can't get to the position that China is. Interestingly, I was in Hong Kong when Xi made that announcement. And, everyone took notice, and there's a tremendous amount of work being done there. But with our GDPR rules and other privacy-related limitations, we can't go about moving to a digital economy in the same way China is. And that actually worries me a little bit. If you travel through China, you go into an office building, you walk up, and the employees have the facial recognition. They don't have badges or anything of that sort. They can track their citizens everywhere without worrying about it. For China, it makes a lot of sense. It does cause the rest of the central banks, and I meet with central banks a lot. I just met with one yesterday, as a matter of fact. And it certainly, like Libra, got them thinking more about the retail side, which is a much more complex problem to solve. Xi has the central banks really thinking about, they want to control their own destiny, and they want to at least be able to issue coins and help commerce at the business level. The retail side is much more complicated.
One of my challenges, we do a tech event in China every November, and a lot of the things that you're saying resonate because there is this totally different treatment of privacy and data and big data and so on, which does give a lot of Chinese companies a big advantage. But what I wanted to come back to was there we also talk to a lot of companies who are in the robotics space or autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars, and so on and so forth. And what seems to be becoming clear here is that all of this is taking a lot longer than we expected, that the adoption of a lot of these technologies is perhaps more slow or slower than we thought. And it also seems to be the case with blockchain. We've been talking a long time about blockchain and about its use for many reasons, for many sort of B2B purposes, and yet the real adoption of this is incredibly slow, it seems. Why is that the case?
Well, Jeff, is it really incredibly slow, or can we look at historical implementations of technology and just realize that the media and those of us that are in the business kind of overhyped it early on? I think Bill Gates refers to that Amari law quite a lot, which is the idea is that humans overestimate the power of technology in the short run and underestimate it in the long run. So listen, given my background, if you look at CLS or you look at Swift and other innovations, since we're, the R3 Corda platform works for all industries, okay? But we're talking about finance here. It took those organizations over a decade to get live. I had a treasury platform that I started at the same time as R3 called Liquidity Edge, which I sold to a company called Market Access. That took 6 years, and it's only getting traction now. So I think the big thing for us is that we made design choices around privacy, scalability, and security. We avoided the drug of the hype of trying to get into public blockchain. People are now realize that the public blockchain was a mistake. They're trying to implement privacy on top of it. People are now concentrating on the environmental impact of proof of work and the like. So it's playing to our strength, and it's getting real this year. One thing I want to mention is the entire Italian banking system will be on Corda for interbank payments this year. hundreds of millions of transactions will be transacted on Corda this year. So it is getting real. It's been 6 years. That feels all right to me.
The entire Italian banking will now be on Corda Settler with R3 this year. That is a massive volume. Corda is still running on XRP as its first choice, and I believe currently still the only cryptocurrency available on there. Alright guys, that was pretty massive. I just wanted to finish off with a little bit of a inspirational quote here. No matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. As we're seeing currently now, the world is changing right before our eyes. And as an investor, you have to be excited. Alright guys, that's going to finish up the video for tonight. It's not financial advice, it's for entertainment purposes only, but I wanted to share for the new people to see how powerful the moment is as you see that R3 is making the news currently because it's running on XRP, the huge connections to Swift. Again, if we had 10%, they say over and over, and I'm pretty confident we have at least 10% through R3. It may not be direct, if that even matters, but we're still getting that. I'm confident. Again, I wanted to show at the beginning how R3 started connecting to Italian banks and finish it up with this year they will have all of them. So R3 to Italy at this point would be equivalent to SBI with Japan. So things are starting to speed up very quickly, and it's getting exciting. Wishing you guys the best of days. Until the next one.